Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
it has been a long time coming, but it is finally here. I am the Uncanny Omar, you are watching Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and today I'm going to be giving you an advanced look at the Spectacular Spider-Man by DeMatteis and Buscema Omnibus. Let's go ahead and take a look at this book that has been a long time coming from Marvel Comics. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advance copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on August 26th or 27th, depending on where you get your books. What we're looking at here is the standard edition cover. This is the one that is supplied by, of course, our pal Sal, and it's going to be available everywhere. On the left-hand side is your direct market cover, also supplied by Sal Buscema, and it does have a different image of Spidey on the spine. But everything underneath the dust jacket is the same. So let's shift the focus back to the standard edition cover here. I love this cover. This is from 200, so yes, it doesn't have the holographic finish to it, but it's just such an iconic image from such an iconic story. So we have by DeMatteis and Sal Buscema. Voted, oh my gosh, this and Daredevil by Nocenti have been voted #1 for years in the most wanted Marvel poll, and now it's finally here. Let's look at the spine really quick. Marvel Omnibus, the Spectacular Spider-Man, DeMatteis, Sal Buscema, and then that image of Spidey. Two amazing creators, one spectacular Spidey. What's collected, the covers, the ISBN, retail price $125. Now, if you're wondering, where does this fit into the reading order of Spectacular Spider-Man? Well, technically this is the third Spectacular Spider-Man Omnibus, so you can put it with your Spectacular Spider-Man Omnis, but it does lead directly into the Clone Saga Omnibus Volume 1. There's something really cool they do inside of this. And then, of course, Volume 1 leads directly into the Roger Stern Omni. But regardless, you can put it wherever you want to. I'm keeping it with the Spectacular Spider-Man, because we're looking at not really the tail end, but kind of like the last fourth of the run. Not the last part, because there's still stuff to be collected after the Clone Saga. So we have a thrilling era for the Webbed Wonder from a pair of all-time greats, and then a little bio on the creators here. And then this image that is wrapped around the art on board. So, let's go ahead and crack open this book and talk about the stories found in here. Oh my gosh, there's some amazing, like, at least two of the very best Spider-Man stories, like top 5 best Spider-Man stories ever written, are in here. But I'm being a little biased. I've been waiting for this for years. Let's find out what's in here, the type of stories, and of course look at this artwork. Alright, so before getting started, I do want to say a couple of the stories in here have been collected before in trade paperback, not a lot. One of the trades is the Spider-Man Son of the Goblin, which also double dips with the Amazing Spider-Man. But I kept it because the issue 200 is so special to me. That's why, again, standard edition cover. And then a big shout out to one of my viewers, Peter, who sent me the Polish version of this omnibus. This omnibus has a lot more, by the way, that they collected. I don't have the single issues anymore, and my wife cannot find hers. This is her childhood Spider-Man. But I don't have, like, the single issues to compare the sizes to, but I do have this right here, which, again, they used from original scans, and then some of the scans, they actually had to scan the comics. Over here, everything has been just restored. So I'll do a quick little comparison, and again, thank you to Peter for sending me that years ago. I remember showing it to Marvel, and David was like, well, one day ours will be oversized. And sure enough, here we are. Here are your end sheets. The title page, The Spectacular Spider-Man by J.M. DeMatteis and Sal Buscema. And over here are the credits. So I love that we are in a different era of collected editions. We still have some misses and hits, really depending on how you want to view mapping. But I love books like this because it perfectly fits right next to your Clone Saga Omnibus. Absolutely love that. And in order to do that, we have to get the Stephen Grant and Mike Lackey stories in there. So J.M. DeMatteis is not alone in writing the stories. They included the annuals by David Michelinie and Ascenti writing her Typhoid Mary story. And then art right here, the pencilers, Sal Buscema, of course, taking the top billing because his name is on the omnibus. But also Mike Zeck and Scott McDaniel, Jerry Bingham, Walter McDaniel, and then people like Malcolm Jones III and MC Wyman, John Romita Sr., and then inkers right here, Sal Buscema, Bob McLeod, Keith Williams, and colorists like Steve Buscelato and Bob Sharon, John Calise, and of course your letterers like Rick Parker and Chris Alepolis and Joe Rosen. Table of contents right here, and kicking it off with Soul of the Hunter. Oh, I love that story. I love that we are getting that book in an omnibus format. And then we jump right in. There is no forward, which is about the only disappointing thing. I would have loved to have seen J.M. DeMatteis talk about these stories and what they meant to him. I'm going to try to see if he's available for an interview the week this book comes out. I'd love to chat with him about these stories. All right, so collected in here is Spectacular Spider-Man 178 to 216 for the first time for most of the stories in here. None of those have been really collected outside of like 1 or 2 issues and in an omnibus format. Spectacular Spider-Man Annuals 12 through 14, and Amazing Spider-Man Soul of the Hunter. The book has 1,200 pages and retails for $125. And let me tell you, for anybody that is a Spider-Man fan, that has been a Spider-Man fan for many years, some of the best Spider-Man stories are found in this omnibus. So, Soul of the Hunter is a follow-up to Kraven's Last Hunt. So in here, again, spoilers, by the way, let's go ahead and put the spoilers tag for stories that happened before this and then after this. Mike Zeck is reunited with J.M. DeMatteis, but we also have Bob McLeod doing the inks, and that is a very McFarlane-ish face right there. So this story relies heavily on the fact that you've already read Kraven's Last Hunt. So in here, Peter Parker is with Mary Jane, and they're going to her friend's mom's funeral. This is a character named Roger Hochberg, and his mom has passed away, and they're going to a funeral where Peter is reminded that he was buried alive by Kraven the Hunter, and also having memories of Uncle Ben. And it's just a really powerful story about letting go. And honestly, the first arc that you're going to see here, The Child Within, is also like that. So here he's having just nightmares about being buried alive, going to the funeral, having these flashbacks as to what happened in that fight with Kraven, because it really wrecked his mind what ended up happening. So this is the soul of Kraven the Hunter, and it's on trial. And it is up to none other than Spider-Man to battle against the corpse of Kraven the Hunter, which, of course, will emerge from his grave, and decide what happens to his soul. We have a nameless person, creature, could be death. I don't know. I think it's still left up to interpretation as to who this is. That kind of sets the rules up for saving Kraven's soul and letting it move on to the afterlife. But in order to do that, Spider-Man has to fight him. So there's this huge conflict with, like, the soul of Hunter and then Spider-Man versus the corpse. And I think it has a wonderful ending. Then we move on to the ongoing storyline here. And it kicks off with, to me, one of the very best, absolute best Spider-Man stories, and that is The Child Within. It's really 7 parts, because there is an aftermath, but it focuses on the character of Vermin. Now, Vermin was a character that was transformed into this creature right here by Baron Zemo. But it starts off at the Ravencroft Mental Institution, where Dr. Ashley Kraft, or I'm sorry, not Kraft, Ashley Kafka, that's her name, making her first appearance, by the way. She's trying to find a cure for Vermin, because it was one of her patients. And Vermin is having visions of himself as a young boy. And there's another part to the story where now Again, spoilers for what happened previously, but during this time, Norman Osborn is dead, killed by his own glider, but of course Harry blames Spider-Man for that. He's having visions of his father and having flashbacks of just the way he was treated. All of this is showing the abuse that both Harry and Vermin received when they were kids. And he's dealing with it like his own way by having his like version of himself that only he can see talk to him about the wrongs that his father and mother did. And there are powerful moments in here, like the confrontation with his own father about the things that happen. So there is child abuse through here. And then, of course, the way that Norman treated his son is now affecting the way that Harry is treating his own son, Normie. On top of that, there's a beautiful moment where Peter Parker goes to visit the grave of Ben Parker, but also his mom and dad, Mary and Richard Parker. And there is just something boiling inside of him. He feels like as a kid, he was guilty for the death of his mom and dad. And even so, the death of his uncle. And he can't let go of that. So it's about the past and what happens and the inner turmoil that happens when you're an adult due to the things that you've done in the past or what was done to you and how you deal with it. If you haven't had a chance to read this, that's all I will say about it. Just know it's not a story about curing vermin. That actually happens a little bit later. But it is a deep and powerful story while still Spider-Man doing his own quips. Like, he's still funny. There are funny parts in here. But also dark and disturbing aspects of the story in this 7-part storyline that leads into the aftermath issue. And then we get to the leapfrog issue, which is so different than what happened before. So we have the return of Eugene, Frogman. This time around, he's with Leapfrog. What was his name? Vincent. And they're teaming up with Spider-Man for this ridiculous fight against the White Rabbit. This is the Terrible 2, I think is what they're called, and the Walrus. That's it. It's just a funny, goofy story. But then there's a lot of sentimental parts happening at home with Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Now, I'm a Mark Bagley fanboy. I love Mark Bagley. And I love David Michelinie. That was my childhood of Spider-Man. But some of the best stories were in Spectacular Spider-Man. Like, the older I get, I think the more I appreciate Spectacular for what it was. I don't think I appreciated it as much when I was a kid. But the older I get, I think it hits closer to home for me. This story is another one. I'm not exaggerating. This is all part of the, what is it called? It's the Adrian Toomes story. Is it Funeral Arrangements? I think it's Funeral Arrangements for an, yes, Funeral Arrangements. So this is all about the Vulture. It's a character that's been around for ages, but it's a little different now because the Vulture has discovered that the power pack that gives him the ability to fly is also causing him cancer. So he has terminal cancer. And he's kind of got, in here, his revenge against the man that wronged him financially and ruined him. But as he's reaching the end of his life, he wants forgiveness. And he wants forgiveness from somebody specifically, and that is Aunt May. So for the deaths that he has committed, and, you know, he has been at fault for a lot of deaths, but one in particular, if you go back to the Amazing Spider-Man issues, but he wants forgiveness from that, from Aunt May. And it is an awesome story about letting go and how long to carry a grudge. Again, like stories I wasn't expecting to be reading. They're so mature and so powerful. This is the 30th anniversary, which has got holographic covers. I'm not a single issue collector anymore, but I kind of want these back. I love the set of all 4 of them. And just, I really enjoyed these anniversary issues. Something happens in The Amazing Spider-Man. It's the return of 2 characters. Now I don't want to go into spoilers, but I do suggest you check out the Bagley and Michelinie Omnibus Volume 1 and 2, because a lot of the stories that are happening here are just a reflection of what was happening in Amazing. And some of those stories that feature the return of characters are only in Amazing. So this whole turmoil, or this whole fight between the legacy of Norman, so Harry and Peter Parker, keeps coming back. And some people might be looking at this going, man, there's a lot of Green Goblin. But it makes sense. It perfectly makes sense. Harry is dealing with, coming to terms with the fact that his best friend killed his dad. He knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. While he's still trying to raise a family, he's still there with Liz. Her brother comes in to visit and help out. Molten Man, that's right. And then, of course, Normie, his own legacy. So it's like he's getting cured, he's getting help, he gets sent to prison. Actually, Dr. Kafka gets involved. The backup story is in here, and I'm so glad it is, because in the original, or I'm sorry, the Polish version, I don't think they found the scans for this. So for the anniversary issue, it just kind of ends with the main story arc, and it doesn't have the backup issues. So for over here, we do have the backup story right here by Bob McLeod and J.M. DeMatteis, and this beautiful piece by Charles Vaz. Oh my gosh, I wish that was what was underneath the dust jacket. I love it. And then, of course, the Rhino story. Now, of course, this isn't just the Rhino story, right? We're not just going to bring back this character. He actually has ties to some of the revenge plot that's happening behind the scenes. And then we have the Hero Killers. Now, if you want the complete Hero Killers, that can be found in the New Warriors Omnibus Volume 1, as well as The Amazing Spider-Man by David Michelinie and Mark Bagley. This is from the annuals, so I'm glad it's still here. Even though it's not written at all by J.M. DeMatteis, they decided to put it here. There's some early artwork by Scott McDaniel, and it is a team-up between the New Warriors and Spider-Man. Now, if you don't care about the New Warriors, first of all, how dare you? Second of all, it is explained in here what happened previously. I love that they're adding recap pages, that they are putting a lot of thought into this. And the backup story is collected in here, the Venom backup story. And I think there was a Prowler backup. Yeah, the Prowler backup story here by Glenn Hurling and Todd Smith. And then the Tom Brevoort issue right there in the Civil's Light. And Puma, which starts off our next storyline right here. But before that, you get the recap of what happened previously in those issues. So Puma makes a return to the city. So what is going on with this character? We haven't seen him for a little bit. This is the character of Thomas Fireheart. And in this particular issue, he's trying to keep control of himself when he is the Puma. But we're also introduced to a rivalry here with the Crow. So it's actually kind of a team up between the Puma and Spider-Man against the Crow, and then of course the fight against the Puma. And then we get, oh, look at that art, the death of Vermin. Now remember when I said that it's not just about trying to find the cure for Vermin, but this is the return of Vermin with Dr. Kafka, and also tying it back to the Captain America issues with Baron Zemo. And this time around, a lot of those creatures that they were making in those issues of Captain America that got out on the loose, and they were kind of taken in by S.H.I.E.L.D., but S.H.I.E.L.D. either, well, you can find out for yourself how they got loose. But they're in the subways now, and they kind of need a representative, a leader, if you will, so they've chosen Vermin. And of course, Baron Zemo can't let his creation go, so he jumps in on this particular storyline that features both of those characters. We have the Foreigner. No, that doesn't happen yet. That's the next arc. This is the X-Men arc with the return of a villain named Professor Power. Now, something happened previously on, I think it was in the pages of Marvel Team Up, where he blames the death of his son on the X-Men and on Spider-Man. So this is his revenge plot. It's kind of a 3-part. I'm surprised they went with 3 parts on this story, because it's kind of a long arc. But again, it's also his supporting cast, the people that are playing a big part in his story with Harry and Liz and Normie, and of course Mary Jane, who was smoking at the time. I keep forgetting that. And then that leads into the big storyline, issue 200. Oh my gosh, this is such a powerful issue. And if you haven't read this, you are in for a heartbreaking treat. It really is, to me, like the definition of like friendship and rivalry and what to let go of. And legacy. How to fight against that legacy that you've been fighting all those years and to finally triumph over it. I think it's a amazing, perfect story, and Sal Buscema's art. I know people like myself, I like his brother more, Big John, but our pal Sal had a way to just convey emotions in some of the panel layouts. It's just, to me, he's one of the most underrated artists and super fast too. But this is the big fight between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin. Now, what they collect in here is also the Carnage, Maximum Carnage. Again, this can be found in the Michelini and Spider-Man... Oh, I'm sorry. Spider-Man. Michelini and Bagley Omnibus fully. And also in the Venom versus Spider-Man Omnibus. But Maximum Carnage, just the Spectacular Spider-Man parts are collected here. So you get a recap as to what's happened previously. So this is the big fight between Spider-Man, Venom versus Carnage, along with some friends. But you only get the Spectacular Spider-Man issues, including the penultimate issue right here that leads into Spider-Man Unlimited. And then we get, there was another character that I forgot to talk about, and that is Angela Cairn. Now, she shows up through these issues right here of Spectacular Spider-Man. She's a police officer, and in this, it kind of changes who she is. So after Maximum Carnage, J.M. DeMatteis does end up leaving the book, but not before he writes this issue of the annual. This is during the time when they were introducing new characters. This, for example, is Nocturne and Scientific Experiments Gone Wrong, and then what ended up happening to Angela. We have the Despair story back here, and this is the Puma story against the Killer Shrike. And then we have the return of Tombstone. Now, Tombstone had previously appeared in Spectacular Spider-Man. I think it was during the Jerry Conway era. But he comes back here with a vengeance. He comes back to kind of take his place here. So he knocks the crud out of Hammerhead because he has some enhancements, if you will. So this is the return of Tombstone. And now we have Stephen Grant writing these stories. There's, again, more aftermath issues as to what happened previously in that big issue 200 that they're dealing with during this particular run. And we also have the return of Black Cat helping him out. I love that cover right there. And again, our pal Sal drawing these issues. There are backup stories with J. Jonah Jameson gone missing, but it mainly focuses on the return of Tombstone. We have a team up with the Shroud right here. And then backup stories with J. Jonah Jameson again, gone missing for a little bit. And then we have the Crimson Death storyline right there, which is the Shroud and Spider-Man team up. And then we get the return of the Foreigner right here. Now this time around, this guy, who I always thought was like the Punisher, has to team up with Spider-Man to fight off against Dead Aim and Swift and Silence and Pulse, Pulse, I think. And of course, we have someone lurking in the shadows, and you'll find out who that is a little bit later. But this is Dead Aim right here. So it's Spider-Man and the Foreigner teaming up against Dead Aim. And who created those characters? Backup story of Black Cat. And then we have Pursuit Part 2. Part 1 in the entirety of Pursuit can be found in the David Michelini, Mark Bagley Omnibus. They're just putting in the Spectacular Spider-Man part right here. This is by Mike Lackey, and then, of course, Sal Buscema drawing the issues. This is in the aftermath of some big discovery of what happened in Peter Parker's personal life. And then we have some more issues by Mike Lackey here. This guy, I think he's Vengeance, who blames Spider-Man for his life gone wrong, and he finds a super suit and tries to fight against him. We get a rare Joe Madureira cover right here featuring Typhoid Mary. And this is written by Innocenti, who of course created the character. And it is the introduction of Bloody Mary and who she is and just how much deadlier she is than Typhoid Mary. And then another Joe Mad cover over here for the annual. This is number 14. Again, J.M. DeMatteis coming back, and Tom Lyle, rest in peace. Love that guy. The script is by Innocenti. And the breakdowns by Sal Buscema with Jerry Bingham doing the finish art. This is, again, kind of wrapping up some of the stuff that happened previously in issue 200. And we have some backup stories with the Foreigner and the Shroud back here. Actually, is that Fry? I'm trying to think who the art is. It's kind of killer. Let's see. It is Dave I don't recognize that name. It's got like a McFarlane feel to it. And then the stories that wrap up this omnibus right here are the Scorpion stories. Tom DeFalco coming in and Sal Buscema drawing these issues. So I'm glad it's a DeMatteis and Buscema omnibus, because that means we get these issues that lead directly into the Clone Saga omnibus. And something really cool that I wish a lot more Omnis did happens towards the end of this. Right here. So we get this cliffhanger page. It's not much of a cliffhanger. It's not spoiling much. But over here, to be continued in Spider-Man The Clone Saga Omnibus Volume 1. Yes! That's exactly what we need. We need those kind of things. We need reading orders like that. I mean, I do reading orders on my channel, but it's just nice to say, oh, from here you can jump over here. Awesome. And hopefully it's still in print. This is the behind-the-scenes making of that 3D model picture. And then, of course, some of the pinup art, the blue foil variant by Joe Mad, internal original art and covers by Sal Buscema, courtesy of, lots of these are courtesy of Heritage Auctions. The Return of Tombstone, the Marvel, this is Spider-Man and the Uncanny X-Men trade paperback. It's a Jimmy Calafiore. I didn't know they did a trade of that. I used to have that Spider-Man Maximum Carnage trade. And then this is the introduction and afterward by GM DeMatteis from that trade. And Spider-Man... Oh, I forgot. Yes, Spider-Man versus the Vulture also collects those stories. The funeral arrangements and then the Green Goblin trade that I showed. And Typhoid's Kiss. This is the trade paperback featuring the artwork of Joe Madureira. And this time Nelson Ribeiro is doing the colors. All right, end sheets. Let's look at the binding of this book. 1,200 pages. Sewn binding. Retailing for $125. Printed at the Donley printer. Now, when it's interesting, let me look at... I wanted to do... Okay, so you do have a little bit of bleed through. And let's look at the spread pages. Yes, double page spreads like this. You do have minimal gutter loss happening. But what I wanted to come back to is actually the issue... kind of show... does it do it? I think it does it here. Yeah, right here. Okay, this is a perfect example of something I wanted to look at. Usually on the covers, and again, I'm comparing it to the Polish version. I don't have the original issues. But there's a little bit of artifact right here on the gray, and I don't really notice it inside of the book, like the internal pages. It's mostly on the covers. It has the same artifacts here, so that is using the same masters. And there was the... Let's look at the Rhino issue. I think he appears... Well, he's got the same color, so... So right here, you can notice it a little bit more right there, and that's due to the scans. Over here, it does have like a smoother finish to it, but not as much as the artifact is here. But it looks a little blurrier, where over here, the image looks sharper and cleaner. And that's probably due to the scan. It's like a higher quality scan. And that's it. Some of the greatest Spider-Man stories finally collected in oversized format in beautiful chronological reading order. And if you want the other stories, this is just Spectacular Spider-Man, David Michelinie, and Bagley Omnis, and then, of course, the New Warriors Omnibus Volume 1. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $250 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of the Omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking this up, if you're going just to wait to see if the volume, I assume 5 of Spectacular Spider-Man will come out one day in a chronological order. Who knows when that will be? But regardless, I would love to know all those comments down below, what your favorite story in here was, and of course, what other Spectacular Spider-Man era do you want to see collected? Or do you want to see creator-centric stuff like Peter David's run on Spider-Man, or just Spectacular Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2? But that is it, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.